Andrew, this year's Lent call, as you know, is on the theme of home. And we've used as the verse which we've kind of worked around, that from Isaiah 32, which is, "My people will live in peaceful dwelling places, in secure homes, and in undisturbed places of rest." You and I have both been to Zimbabwe on a number of occasions, as well as to Jerusalem, which you know particularly well. And we have projects from Zimbabwe, from Jerusalem, and then projects as well from homeless shelters and those who work with the homeless here in the diocese. I just wonder what you think about what home might mean to people in the very different places that we're featuring.
The thing that struck me when I was reading about the various projects for this year's Lent call was the way in which, through this pandemic, very often, people have been made less and less secure wherever it is and wherever they're living. I think that there are features in this year's that seem very, very basic, and home is one of our basic requirements. Yeah. You know, that's why the prophet is speaking about that security which we need. And we know that in our own country, we're talking a lot about the secure feeling that we can pay for our fuel, that we can pay for our food, that we can live as we want to live. Some of our brothers and sisters are living in very, very insecure surroundings in Zimbabwe, but also in Beirut, where the very heart of that city was ripped apart, and people are still living with that insecurity.
Yeah, and I was reflecting in putting the material together that it is true increasingly here as well, I think, that people feel lacking in security. And I know that you've done fundraising over a number of years for the Robes Project, which is one of those that we're featuring. What motivates you to do that, and what makes you think about those things?
I think one of the things that really motivates me, apart from wanting to know how to meet the needs of those who I constantly see on the streets around the cathedral, and not knowing what the best way is to help them, which I think is a very familiar feeling. One of the things that really struck me going along on a Sunday evening when the cathedral community looks after the project is just talking to people and realising that I'm probably 3 steps away, 3 events away from being homeless myself, from being just as they are. This is not something that comes about because of a whole load of things that can happen and people do wrong and, you know, sinfulness or whatever, however you might describe it. These are ordinary life events that put people in the most insecure place. Nowhere to lay your head. And, you know, we're sat here in the cathedral now, solid, secure, the house of God. I want to build places for people to live wherever they are that are as secure as the home we build for God, where we meet with God and realise God's presence. I think that's, as Christians, what we want to do for our brothers and sisters.
Yeah, that's really important, Andrew, I think. And thinking about the churches and the vicarages in Zimbabwe, which we've seen, which are often very much less secure than we see here in some of the new places. So I think the message that I'd like to give is that in this Lent, as we think about the homeless in our world, in our diocese, let's also think about our linked dioceses and hope that people will be able to give generously to the Bishop of Southwark's Lent call in order to help more people to feel secure.
And in that way, we'll be doing right by the God who comes and makes his home amongst us.